Boy helps elderly woman gather her fallen fruits. The next day he receives something unexpected. The bustle of New York City's downtown area was buzzing that Thursday afternoon when the accident happened. An elderly woman with white hair swayed slightly, and her bag of fruit slipped from her trembling hands, spilling red apples and ripe bananas across the busy sidewalk. Caleb stopped immediately upon seeing the scene. The 12-year-old boy didn't think twice before bending down to pick up the fruits that were rolling toward the street. As he carefully gathered each apple and banana, he noticed the woman watching him with a strange expression in her moist eyes. "Thank you, my dear," she murmured in a choked voice. "No need to thank me, ma'am," Caleb replied with a smile, handing back the reassembled bag. The elderly woman held his hand for a moment longer than necessary, studying his face as if trying to memorize every detail. Then she whispered something he couldn't quite make out, something about "just like," before slowly walking away through the crowd. Caleb shook his head and continued on his way home. He lived with his grandma Martha in a small 2-story house in the Astoria neighborhood, where she did sewing to support them both ever since he was little. He had never known his parents, but Grandma Martha always said he was her greatest blessing. The next morning, a black limousine stopped in front of the humble house. The driver, a middle-aged man in uniform, got out and rang the doorbell. Caleb answered, still in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes in surprise. "Caleb Mitchell?" asked the driver. "That's me, sir." "I have something for you," he said, handing over a heavy gold envelope. Inside, an expensive piece of paper bore only an address in the Upper East Side and the words, "Your presence is requested today at 2 in the afternoon. Very important." Grandma Martha appeared at the door, adjusting the floral apron she always wore. "What is that, my grandson?" Caleb showed her the invitation, and his grandmother's eyes filled with worry. "I don't know if you should go, Caleb. It could be dangerous." "Oh, Grandma, dangerous how? It must be some mistake, but I'm curious. Then I'll come with you." "You can't miss work. You need to finish those dresses by Friday." After much discussion, Caleb convinced his grandmother to let him go alone, promising to return before nightfall. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, go ahead and leave a like, and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, the address led to an imposing mansion with iron gates and well-maintained gardens. Caleb had never seen such a big house. The driver was waiting for him at the door and led him through hallways decorated with old paintings and expensive furniture. "Mrs. Beatrice is in the living room," the driver informed. Caleb entered a spacious room with leather armchairs and an unlit fireplace. Sitting in a rocking chair was the same woman from the fruit incident, but now wearing an elegant dress and subtle jewelry. "Have a seat, dear," she said in a soft voice. "You're the same lady from yesterday, aren't you?" "Yes, I am Beatrice Harrington. Sorry I didn't introduce myself yesterday. I was very emotional." Caleb sat on the edge of an armchair, still confused. "Why did you call me here?" Beatrice picked up a photo from the table beside her and stared at it for long moments before speaking. "How old are you, Caleb?" 12, Mrs. Beatrice." "And you live only with your grandmother?" "Yes, ma'am. Always have." "You remind me a lot of someone," she said, showing him the photograph. Caleb looked at the image and his heart skipped a beat. It was a boy the same age as him, with strikingly similar facial features. He could have been his twin brother. "Who is he?" "My grandson, Julian, son of my only son, David." "Where is he now?" Beatrice's face darkened. "I don't know. It's been 10 years since I've seen either of them." Caleb noticed the pain in the woman's voice and didn't know what to say. "There was a terrible fight," Beatrice continued. "My son wanted to marry a girl I didn't approve of. He said horrible things, consumed by anger. He left home and never came back." "And the little boy in the photo?" "Julian was 2 years old when they left. I never saw them grow up." Caleb looked at the photograph again. The resemblance was truly striking. "Is that why you got emotional yesterday?" "When I saw you helping with the fruit, it was like seeing my grandson again. The same hair, the same kind eyes, the same affectionate manner." Beatrice stood up and walked over to the window overlooking the garden. I've been living alone in this house for years, Caleb. I have everything money can buy, but I don't have the only thing that really matters: family. Why don't you look for your son? Pride is a terrible prison, kid. The more years pass, the harder it is to ask for forgiveness. Caleb felt sorry for that rich woman living in loneliness. He remembered how his grandmother always talked about the importance of forgiveness. Caleb, can I make you an offer? What kind of offer? Your grandmother needs medical care, doesn't she? I can tell from your clothes, the way you talk. You're struggling. Caleb felt awkward. It was true that Grandma Martha had been complaining about back pain from overwork, but they didn't have money for private doctors. How about I pay for all of your grandmother's medical expenses in exchange for some visits from you here? Visits? Just to keep a lonely old woman company. Twice a week, a few hours. What do you think? Caleb hesitated. The offer seemed too good to be true. I need to talk to my grandmother. Of course, take my card. When you decide, call me. The driver took Caleb back home. During the whole ride, he looked out the window, thinking about that strange situation. Why would a rich woman want to pay for a stranger's medical care just for a few visits from a boy? Grandma Martha listened to everything with growing attention. I don't know, Caleb. It seems very strange. But think about the tests you need to get, Grandma, and that knee pain that won't go away. Easy money always comes with a price, my grandson. She seems like a good person, Grandma. She's just lonely. After long talks, Grandma Martha agreed to a trial period. If anything seemed off, they'd stop immediately. The following Monday, Caleb returned to the mansion. Beatrice greeted him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. So glad you came back. I prepared a special snack. The table was set with refined sweets and savory treats. While they ate, Beatrice asked questions about Caleb's life, about his dreams and fears. Tell me about your school. I study at a public school near home. I like math and physical education. Julian also liked math, Beatrice said with a melancholy smile. Do you have more pictures of him? Many want to see? Beatrice took him to a room that looked more like a museum. The walls were covered with photographs of a boy growing up, first steps, birthdays, playing in the garden. Wow, he really looks a lot like me, Caleb murmured. Doesn't he? Sometimes I think it was fate that brought you to me. During the next visit, Beatrice showed Caleb Julian's old clothes, carefully kept in the closet. How about trying some on? They should fit perfectly. Caleb felt uncomfortable but didn't want to upset Beatrice. The clothes fit like a glove. Perfect, Beatrice exclaimed, clapping her hands. Julian, Caleb, you look great. Caleb noticed the slip, but Beatrice quickly corrected herself. Sorry, it's just that the resemblance is so strong that I get confused sometimes. In the following visits, the slips became more frequent. Beatrice would call Caleb Julian and then nervously correct herself. She started asking him to take part in strange family rituals, sitting in a specific chair during meals, wearing certain clothes, playing with old toys in the garden. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers out. Now continuing. The housekeeper, Mrs. Hattie, a 50-year-old black woman, began watching Caleb with growing concern. Young man, can I talk to you? She said one afternoon, when Beatrice stepped out to take a call. Of course, Mrs. Hattie. You need to be careful. The lady of the house hasn't been right in the head lately. What do you mean? She gets confused, mixes up the past and present. Sometimes she thinks you're really her grandson. Caleb felt a knot in his stomach. Does she mean anyone harm? No. She's a good person, but she's very sick with loneliness and longing. I just want you to stay alert. Thanks for the warning, Mrs. Hattie. That afternoon, while playing alone in the vast garden, Caleb found something that made him question everything. Behind a rose bush, there was a small buried box. Inside, an old notebook with handwritten notes. What he read left him in shock. They were records from Julian himself as a teenager, recounting attempts to visit his grandmother. March 15th. Tried to talk to Grandma Beatrice today. The security guard wouldn't let me in. Said she didn't want to see anyone from the family. April 22nd. Dad tried to call her. She hung up the phone on us. June 10th. Sent a letter. It came back unopened. The notes went on for months, all recounting failed attempts at reaching out. Caleb realized Beatrice had lied. The grandson had tried to reconcile several times, but she was the one who refused any contact. When Beatrice came back from her call, Caleb looked at her with different eyes. "Mrs. Beatrice, can I ask you something?" "Of course, dear." "Are you sure your son and grandson never tried to reach you?" Beatrice's face changed instantly. "Why do you ask that?" "Just curious." "They never tried, no. If they had, I would have known." Caleb decided not to confront her then, but the discomfort grew with every visit. At home, Grandma Martha noticed the change in her grandson's behavior. "Did something happen at that house, Caleb?" "I don't know, Grandma. I think Mrs. Beatrice isn't telling the whole truth about her family." "What kind of truth?" Caleb told her about the notebook he found. Grandma Martha got worried. "Maybe it's best we stop these visits." "But you already scheduled the medical exams. And she's paying for everything. Money isn't worth our peace of mind, my grandson. Let me go a few more times. I want to understand what's going on." On the next visit, Beatrice was more unusual than normal. She had prepared a formal dinner in the main dining room, with candles and crystal glasses. "Today is a special day, Julian," she said, forgetting entirely to correct herself. "Mrs. Beatrice, I'm Caleb." Of course, Caleb, who looked so much like my grandson. During dinner, Beatrice talked about plans for the future, as if Caleb were truly part of the family. "We can travel during school breaks. Would you like to visit Europe?" "Mrs. Beatrice, I need to stay with my grandmother." "Your grandmother?" Beatrice seemed confused for a moment. "Ah, yes, Grandma Martha. She can come live here too." Caleb realized the situation was getting out of hand. "I think I'd better leave early today." "No, not yet." Beatrice stood up abruptly. "Julian, I mean, Caleb, I need to tell you something important." "What is it?" "I'm thinking about officially adopting you." Caleb nearly choked on his water. "What do you mean?" "You could be my real grandson, heir to all of this. You'd never struggle again." "Mrs. Beatrice, I already have a family. I have my grandmother. But here you'd have so much more. Expensive schools, nice clothes, trips. I don't want those things. I want to stay with someone who truly loves me." Beatrice's face hardened. "Who truly loves you? A poor seamstress who can barely support you?" Caleb got up from the table. "My grandma loves me for who I am, not because I look like someone else." "Sit down," ordered Beatrice in an authoritative voice. "I'm leaving. If you walk out that door, I'll never pay for your grandmother's treatments again." Caleb stopped at the door, torn between his family's needs and his own dignity. "Are you blackmailing me?" "I'm offering you a unique opportunity to be used as a replacement for your real grandson." Beatrice was silent for long seconds. "You don't understand. I need a family. I've been alone for so long." "But you do have a family. You just need to look for them." "They abandoned me." "Or did you push them away out of pride?" Beatrice looked at Caleb with a mix of anger and surprise. "How dare you judge me? You're just a poor boy." "I'm a poor boy who knows the difference between true love and self-interest." Caleb left the mansion walking, refusing the driver's ride. During the whole trip back home, he thought about how to tell Grandma Martha about the situation. When he arrived, he found his grandmother in the kitchen preparing the usual simple dinner. "How was it today, my grandson?" Caleb told her everything: the notebook he found, the adoption proposal, the blackmail with the medical treatments. Grandma Martha listened to everything in silence, stirring the beans on the stove. "Did I do the right thing, Grandma?" "Yes, you did, Caleb. Dirty money never brought happiness to anyone." "But what about your tests?" "We'll figure it out. We always have." Grandma Martha hugged her grandson tightly. "I'm proud of you, my boy. You have character." The next morning, Caleb was surprised by the doorbell. It was Beatrice's driver, but he hadn't come to pick him up. "Mrs. Beatrice wants to talk to you," he said, handing over a phone. Caleb hesitated before answering. "Hello?" "Caleb, please forgive me. I acted badly yesterday. Mrs. Beatrice, don't hang up. I need to explain something very important to you. I'm listening. You're right about everything. I pushed my family away out of pride, and now I'm desperate because I don't have much time left. What do you mean? I'm sick, Caleb. Very sick. The doctors said I have at most 6 months. Caleb was silent. That's why I was so desperate to have you close. I thought if I had a grandson again, I could pretend my life wasn't a waste, Mrs. Beatrice. But you made me realize I'm making the same mistake again, trying to control people instead of winning their love. Caleb felt sorry for the lonely woman. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm scared to look for David and Julian after all this time. What if they reject me? What if they don't? Beatrice was silent for a moment. Caleb, would you help me with something? Depends on what it is. Would you help me find them? Caleb talked to Grandma Martha, who agreed to help as long as it wasn't dangerous or dishonest. We'll try, Mrs. Beatrice, but no blackmail, no lies. I promise. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to hit like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us beginners. Now continuing. In the following days, Caleb and Mrs. Hattie worked like detectives. The housekeeper revealed she had kept some old addresses, and Caleb used his computer skills at school to do research. I found something, Caleb shouted one afternoon. What is it? Beatrice approached anxiously. Your son David works at an architecture firm right here in New York City, and the home address isn't far from here. Beatrice turned pale. He's been this close the whole time? It seems so. And there's more. Julian is in engineering school. According to the information, he's 22 now. 22. How time has flown. Beatrice sat down in an armchair, suddenly looking fragile. And now? Do I knock on the door after 10 years and say, "Hi, it's me, sorry for my pride"? Why not? Caleb, you don't understand. I said terrible things when David left home. I called his wife a gold digger, said he was choosing a stranger over his own mother. And now? Now I know I was wrong. Lydia was a good girl. I just didn't want to give her a chance. Caleb had an idea. Mrs. Beatrice, how about we start slow? How? I'll go to your son's company just to talk without saying who I am. You'd do that? I will, but on one condition. What? You stop calling me Julian and stop wanting me to replace him. I'm Caleb, and that's how I want to be treated. That's fair. I'm sorry for all of this. The next day, Caleb headed to the downtown area. The architecture firm was in a modern office building. He asked to speak with David Harrington at the reception. What's it about? Asked the receptionist. It's personal. Minutes later, a 40-year-old man appeared in the lobby. He had grey hair at the temples and tired eyes, but a kind face. You wanted to see me? Mr. David? My name is Caleb. I have something important to tell you. About what? Caleb took a deep breath. About your mother, Mrs. Beatrice. David's face changed immediately. My mother? What about her? She's looking for you. After 10 years. It's complicated. Can we talk somewhere more private? David took him to a nearby diner. For an hour, Caleb told everything. How he met Beatrice, about her mental state, about the illness, about the regret. Is she really sick? Asked David with genuine concern. She is, and very regretful too. Caleb, you don't know what we've been through all these years. Julian grew up asking why his grandmother didn't want to meet him. She says you never tried to reach out. We tried several times. Letters, phone calls, we even went in person. She always sent word that she didn't want to see us. I know, I found Julian's notes. What notes? Caleb told him about the notebook buried in the garden. My son wrote about the attempts. David got emotional. He suffered a lot from this rejection. Your son has a good heart, Mr. David. Even being rejected, he kept trying. Where is he now? In college, but he lives with me and my wife. Lydia? Yes. Are you two still married? 23 years in December. She's an incredible woman. She supported me through every tough moment. Caleb smiled. Mrs. Beatrice knows she was wrong about her too. Caleb, why are you doing this? What's your stake in all this? Caleb thought about the answer. My grandmother always taught me that family is the most important thing in the world. I think every family deserves a second chance. David was silent for a few minutes. I don't know if I can forgive after so long. You don't have to forgive now, but maybe you can try to talk. And if she hurts me again? What if she hurts Julian? And if she doesn't? What if you manage to understand each other? David sighed deeply. I need to talk to Lydia and Julian first. Of course, but please don't take too long. She really doesn't have much time. 3 days later, Caleb received a phone call from David. Caleb, we talked as a family. Julian wants to meet his grandmother, even after everything. Lydia says she's willing to try too. And you? I'm scared, but she's my mother. I can't let her go without trying for a reconciliation. That's great. How do you want to do it? We can meet on neutral ground first. How about that square near the Central Market where you two met? Caleb thought it was the perfect idea. He checked with Beatrice, who was so nervous she couldn't sleep properly for 2 days. What if they hate me, Caleb? What if they don't? I don't even know what I'm going to say. Start by apologizing. The rest will come naturally. On the scheduled Saturday, Caleb arrived at the square early to set the scene. He picked a bench under a leafy tree, away from the main foot traffic. Beatrice arrived on time, wearing a simple yet elegant dress. She was visibly nervous. Are they really coming? Yes, they are, Mr. David promised. 15 minutes later, 3 people approached. A man Caleb recognized as David, an elegant middle-aged brunette woman, and a tall young man with dark hair. Beatrice stood up from the bench with shaky legs. David? Mum. For a moment no one moved. Then Beatrice started crying. My son, forgive me. Forgive me for everything. David hesitated for a few seconds before stepping forward and hugging his mother. Lydia and Julian watched from a distance. Mum, you've aged. I aged badly, David. I aged alone and bitter. We tried. I know. Caleb told me about your attempts. I was a foolish, proud woman. Beatrice then looked at Lydia for the first time in 10 years. Lydia, can you forgive me? I said horrible things about you. Lydia approached slowly. Mrs. Beatrice, I held a grudge for a long time, but I learned that bitterness only harms the one who holds it. You're far better than I deserve. We're family, or at least we should be. Then Beatrice looked at Julian, who had grown into a handsome, strong young man. Julian, she said, her voice choked. Grandma Beatrice. You've grown so much. And you still look like Caleb, don't you? Julian smiled. People always say we have the family look. Beatrice laughed through her tears. Can I hug you? Julian didn't hesitate. He hugged his grandmother tightly, as if trying to make up for all the lost years. I missed you all these years, Grandma. I missed you too, my grandson, I did. The family sat together on the park bench. Caleb stood a little off to the side, watching the scene with satisfaction. Caleb, come here, Beatrice called. No, Mrs. Beatrice, this moment is for your family. You're part of it too. If it weren't for you, we never would have found each other again. Caleb approached shyly. Julian, this is Caleb, the boy I used to mistake for you. Nice to meet you, Caleb. Thank you for taking care of my grandmother when I couldn't. She just missed you all. Now she doesn't have to miss us anymore, David said. They talked for 2 hours in the square. Beatrice told them about her loneliness and regret. David spoke about the difficulties of raising Julian without his grandmother around. Lydia shared how hard it was to be rejected by a mother-in-law who didn't even know her. Julian recounted how he always wanted to have a present grandmother. We have a lot of lost time to make up for, Beatrice said. We have the rest of our lives for that, David replied. But Beatrice knew she didn't have much time. She told them about her illness, leaving everyone shocked. Mom, why didn't you reach out to us sooner if you knew you were sick? I was ashamed, afraid of being rejected just like I rejected you. We would never do that, Lydia said. We're family. And now? Julian asked. Now we make the most of every day, Beatrice replied. In the following weeks, the family gathered frequently. David took Lydia and Julian to have lunch at the mansion every Sunday. Beatrice finally got to know her daughter-in-law properly and discovered that Lydia was everything a mother could wish for her son: caring, intelligent, and loyal. Julian started visiting his grandmother after school, helping her catch up on memories. He recorded the family stories Beatrice told, creating an archive of memories for the future. David took over his mother's medical care, ensuring she had the best possible treatment. Beatrice, in turn, insisted on honoring her commitment to Caleb. She paid for all of Grandma Martha's tests and found out she needed knee surgery to relieve the pain. "Mrs. Beatrice, you don't have to do this anymore," Caleb said during a visit. "Yes, I do. A deal is a deal. Besides, you gave me the greatest gift possible, my family back. I just helped you find each other again. It was much more than that, Caleb. You taught me what really matters in life. Grandma Martha's surgery was a success." During her recovery, Beatrice made a point of visiting her in person to thank her for raising such a special grandson. "Your Caleb is a golden boy," Beatrice said. "He's always been that way, kind and fair," Grandma Martha replied. "You did a wonderful job raising him on your own. I did the best I could with what I had, and that was more than enough." The two women became friends, bonded by the experience of raising grandchildren in difficult circumstances. 3 months after the reconciliation, Beatrice hosted a big family dinner at the mansion. She invited David, Lydia, Julian, Caleb, and Grandma Martha. "I want to make an announcement," she said when everyone was gathered. "What kind of announcement, Mom?" David asked, worried. "First, I want to apologize to everyone again. I wasted 10 years of our time together because of pride." "Mom, we've already talked about this," David interrupted. "Let me finish." Beatrice smiled. "Second, I want to announce that I'm changing my will." Everyone grew uncomfortable. "We don't need to talk about this now," Lydia said. "Yes, I do. I want everyone to know that I'll leave most of my assets to David and Julian, as it always should have been." "Mom, but I also want to set up a fund for Caleb to study at a good university when the time comes." Caleb turned red. "Mrs. Beatrice, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. And for Grandma Martha, I want to guarantee a lifelong health plan." "Beatrice, that's too much," Grandma Martha objected. "It's the least I can do for the one who raised the boy who saved my family." "Mum, what did the doctors say about your treatment?" David asked, changing the subject. Beatrice grew serious. "There's not much to do, maybe a few more months if everything goes well." "Don't say that," Julian said with tears in his eyes. "My grandson. I'm not sad. I'm complete now. I have my family back and I have new special friends." Beatrice looked at Caleb and Grandma Martha with affection. "Besides, I want to use the time I have left to do something useful." "What do you have in mind?" Lydia asked. "I want to create a program to reunite families separated by fights or pride. I'll call it the Reconciliation Project." "What a wonderful idea," David exclaimed. "Caleb gave me the inspiration. If a 12-year-old boy could bring our family together, imagine what we can do with more resources." "Can I help?" Julian offered. "Of course, you can be the coordinator when I'm no longer here." "Don't say that, Grandma. Julian, life is alone. What matters is how we use the time we have." In the following months, Beatrice worked tirelessly on the Reconciliation Project. With David and Julian's help, they created a structure to mediate family conflicts and facilitate reconciliations. Caleb participated as a special consultant, sharing his experience and helping other young people in similar situations. Grandma Martha contributed her wisdom about relationships and forgiveness, based on decades of life experience. Lydia used her administrative skills to organize the project efficiently. The first success story came 3 months later. A family separated for 15 years by a fight over an inheritance managed to reconcile through the project's mediation. "It worked," Julian cheered. "This is just the beginning," Beatrice said with satisfaction. The project grew and gained recognition in the community. Local newspapers ran stories about the family reconciliation work. Beatrice felt fulfilled for doing something meaningful in her final months of life. On a Sunday in September, the family was gathered at the mansion when Beatrice felt unwell during lunch. "Mom, you look pale," David noticed. "Just a little tired." "Let's go to the hospital," Lydia said, standing up. "I don't want to spend my last days in a hospital," Beatrice murmured. "Last days? Don't talk like that," Julian protested. "My grandson, the doctors gave me 6 months. It's been 8 already. I've lived longer than expected because I was happy." Caleb, who had been silent, approached. "Mrs. Beatrice, you've changed so much in people's lives." "You too, Caleb. You saved me from dying alone and bitter. You saved my grandmother and gave me an extended family. We're all family now," Beatrice said, smiling. She spent 2 more weeks at home, surrounded by everyone's love. David took leave from work to be near his mother. Julian skipped classes to spend time with his grandmother. Lydia cared for her with the affection of a true daughter. Caleb and Grandma Martha visited daily, bringing flowers from the garden and stories to distract Beatrice. On an October morning, Beatrice woke up weaker than usual. "Call everyone," she asked Mrs. Hattie. Within a few hours, the family was gathered around her. "I want to thank you all for forgiving me," she said in a weak voice. "Mom, we don't need goodbyes," David said, holding her hand. "I need to say some important things." Beatrice looked at each person in the room. "David, you were a better son than I deserved. Forgive me for being such a difficult mother." "I love you, Mom." "Lydia, you are the daughter I always wanted. Thank you for taking care of my family when I didn't know how." Lydia cried silently. "Julian, my beautiful grandson, keep being the special person you are. And always remember that your grandma loves you very much." "I love you too, Grandma." "Caleb, you were the angel God sent to our family. Never forget that small gestures can change entire lives." Caleb couldn't speak from emotion. "And Grandma Martha, thank you for raising such a special boy. You are an exemplary mother and grandmother." "Thank you for everything, Beatrice. And now, I want everyone to promise me one thing." "Anything, Mom," David said. "Promise that you'll stay united, that the Reconciliation Project will help other families like ours, and that you'll never let pride separate you again." "We promise," they all said in unison. Beatrice smiled for the last time. "Then I can leave in peace." She closed her eyes, still holding her sons' and grandsons' hands, surrounded by everyone she loved. Beatrice would pass away that October afternoon, but she left a legacy of love, forgiveness, and reconciliation that would live on through her reunited family. The funeral was simple as she had requested, but it was full of love and gratitude. 3 months later, David opened the will in everyone's presence. Besides the provisions Beatrice had mentioned, there was a special letter for Caleb. "My dear Caleb, when I saw you helping a stranger pick up fruit that afternoon, you had no idea you were planting a seed of love that would grow and bear fruit for an entire family. You taught me that true wealth isn't in what we own, but in the love we share. You taught me that forgiveness is more powerful than pride, and that the kindness of a child can heal decades of wounds. So, besides the education I've already secured for you, I want you to know that you will always have an extended family that loves you. David, Lydia, and Julian are your family now too. Keep being that special boy, full of kindness and wisdom. The world needs more people like you. With all my love and eternal gratitude, Grandma Beatrice, because that's how I want you to remember me." Caleb read the letter with tears in his eyes, embraced by his new family. The Reconciliation Project thrived under Julian's leadership. He graduated in engineering, but decided to dedicate himself fully to social work, inspired by his grandmother. David and Lydia became mentors of the project, offering guidance to couples and families in crisis. Caleb continued his studies with excellence, always participating in the project during school breaks. At 18, he decided to study psychology to specialize in family therapy. Grandma Martha fully recovered from her knee surgery and started volunteering at the project, offering her sewing skills to families in need. Mrs. Hattie continued taking care of the mansion, which was transformed into the headquarters of the Reconciliation Project. 5 years after Beatrice's passing, the project had already reunited over 200 families, separated by various conflicts. One sunny morning, Caleb was at the headquarters organizing files when he received a special phone call. "Caleb, this is Sarah Mitchell. I saw a report about the Reconciliation Project on TV." "Yes, how can I help you?" "Well, it's been 15 years since I last spoke to my sister because of a fight over our mother's inheritance. Could you possibly help us?" Caleb smiled, remembering Beatrice's words about how small gestures can change entire lives. "Of course we can. Shall we set up a meeting for tomorrow?" "That would be wonderful." After hanging up, Caleb looked out the mansion's window and saw Julian in the garden teaching a group of children about the importance of forgiveness and family. David walked through the living room carrying boxes of supplies for a new project campaign. Lydia organized a workshop for couples in crisis in the main hall. Grandma Martha sewed clothes for a family that had recently reconciled but was going through financial hardship. All that loving and generous commotion had started with a simple gesture. A boy stooping down to help an elderly woman gather her fallen fruits on a busy sidewalk. Caleb picked up a photograph he kept on his desk. Him, Grandma Martha, Beatrice, David, Lydia and Julian together on the last Christmas they spent united. "Thank you, Mrs. Beatrice," he murmured. "You were right. Small gestures really can change the world." Then he returned to work, getting ready to help another family find their way back to love and forgiveness. Because that was what he had learned on that memorable afternoon, that kindness is a seed that, when planted with love, grows and multiplies endlessly, touching lives and creating bonds that neither time nor distance can break. And so, the story of a boy who helped an elderly woman gather fruits continued to spread across the world, one reconciled family at a time, one healed heart at a time, one transformed life at a time. End of the story. Now tell us what you thought of this emotional story of family reconciliation. Have you ever experienced a similar situation? Do you believe in the transformative power of small acts of kindness? Leave your honest opinion in the comments. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other inspiring stories about love, forgiveness, and family.